objectives and outcomes of today's lesson. Students will be able to understand the importance of showing by using descriptive words, learn how to bring a scene to life, and they will be able to show actions instead of telling them. So why is it important to show instead of telling something? Show don't tell is a writing technique in which story and characters are related through sensory details and actions rather than exposition. It fosters a style of writing that's more immersive for the reader, allowing them to be in the room with the characters. The show don't tell method of writing enables the writer to create a picture in the reader's mind. The writer gets away from the repetition of empty words like went, big, or said, and instead uses rich descriptions which makes the reader feel as if he or she is part of the story. In short, showing illustrates while telling merely states. Now, when you see these two examples, you can note that the scissors was blue like the sea is quite boring and mundane. But when you actually show and describe the pair of scissors, like the scissors sounded like the soundtrack to a horror movie, as they cut through thin air and it felt like my fingers had been handcuffed for a crime they didn't commit. You can see that the rich description makes it more vivid and fun to read. Now, what are the ways which you can use to show the action instead of just telling them? Use descriptive details by adding the words which appeal to your five senses. For example, sight, hearing, taste, and touch. Instead of using boring verbs, by boring I mean the repetition of some words. So for example, instead of repeating the word run, you can use some other interesting words, for example, dart, dash, sprint, race, or scamper. You can also use dialogue and character thoughts to give life to the scene. You can also create a sense of setting. One of the best ways to show rather than tell is to create a sense of setting. You can do this by writing about how characters perceive and interact with their surroundings, weaving plenty of sensory details and occasional action into the scene. This is a particularly good way to lend immediacy to your story, as the reader should be able to imagine themselves in that very setting. So instead of plainly telling that I walked through the forest, it was already fall and I was getting cold. So instead of telling that it was fall, you can just show it by using some descriptive words like dry, orange, leaves, crunched, and instead of writing cold, you just show it by using pull the collar. So instead of telling I walked through the forest, it was already fall and I was getting cold, you can show it by using the dry orange leaves crunched under my feet as I pulled the collar up on my coat. The second example is more vivid. Similarly, instead of telling your emotions like happy, sad, angry, or excited, you should show your emotions by using more vivid words. For example, instead of plainly writing that Ali was angry, you should show it that he was angry. So, Ali kicked open the screen door, letting it slam against the wall as he dashed outside. Down the steps and into the yard he flew. Grabbing the first rock in his path, he hurled it back toward the house. It crashed through the living room window with an explosion of shattered glass. Now you see the second example creates a picture in your mind and you can feel that you are actually in the scene.